Hello, Internet, and welcome to the penultimate Season 2 episode of Quiz and Hers, the podcast where we test each other's knowledge and the strength of our relationship in a 10-week battle for trivia supremacy. My name is Justin, and I am here as always with my co-host and fiancé, my better half, Hallie.
Hello.
I couldn't think of a funny intro for you this week.
That's okay. I'll forgive you.
If you're new to the podcast, here's how it works. Each week, one of us writes 6 questions to ask the other person from 6 different categories, which are arts and literature, sounds and screen, sports and games, times and places, science, and everything else, which is our wildcard category. After each question, the quizmaster has about a 5-minute or so discussion prepared, so we can all learn a little bit more about whatever the topic is.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that last time.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
And each game is tied together by some central theme. So today it is my turn to ask questions. I am currently holding on to a very tenuous 1-point lead going into the last 2 games of the season.
I need a win, man.
Yeah, so this is your last chance to build up a lead before we crown the Season 2 champion.
Last week was brutal.
Yeah.
Or not last week, 2 weeks when I was
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, you mean. Your Rocks game, right?
No.
Wait, what?
2 weeks ago when you asked me those questions about Japan.
It wasn't that bad.
I feel like I did horribly.
I have it right here. Hang on. Yeah, you only got 2.
Yeah, it was hard.
That's right. You got
I need to catch up.
7 Samurai and Sumo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a much closer race this season than it was a few weeks back when you were destroying me. So, all right.
I need to win. Vote for me.
It's not a popularity contest, fortunately. If it was, you'd win every season.
Aw, thanks. Except you're going to win every season.
I don't think that's true. All right, let's do this. Here we go.
Okay.
I call today's game The Memeing of Life.
Oh, God.
Because every question will be about everyone's favorite little bits of viral humor, internet memes.
You know I'm so bad at this.
And for the record, to be considered a meme for the purposes of this game, the bit of internet culture in question had to have a verified entry on knowyourmeme.com. The, internet's
official
navel-gazing repository of its own humor, yes. So
okay.
There's probably 10 times as many submissions as there are verifications on that site, so these are the memes.
So all the questions are about memes?
Yes.
Okay.
In some way.
Okay. I feel like I already know one of them.
Oh, you do.
Okay.
It's question 6, because it's my favorite question. It's the reason that I wrote the game.
No, it's not what I'm thinking of.
What?
That's not what I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay. We'll see. Question 1, science.
This is what I'm thinking. Go ahead.
The term meme
this is exactly what I
was originally defined as a piece of knowledge or culture that could mutate and propagate via a cultural version of evolution by natural selection. This idea was originally proposed by what biologist in his book, The Selfish Gene?
Dawkins.
Yes, Richard Dawkins.
But as soon as you said this theme, I was like, my first thought was what are some memes? And then I didn't think of any, and then I was like, oh, Richard Dawkins.
Yep. Yes, good.
That I knew.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Dawkins is a biologist, specifically an evolutionary biologist, and The Selfish Gene was a landmark book in that field. Basically, it presented a revision to evolutionary theory in which the primary unit of analysis is not the species or even the individual, but rather the gene itself. Genes, he argues, exist to replicate and propagate themselves, not the organisms that quote-unquote host them. In other words, natural selection acts on genes, and evolution amounts to survival of the fittest gene, not the fittest individual organism. But you don't care about that. Let's talk about memes.
No, I wanted to learn more about Richard Dawkins.
Meme didn't always refer to pictures of unlucky people turned into offensive comedic archetypes captioned with ungrammatical nonsense, believe it or not. Dawkins coined the term as a shortening of minimeme from the Greek for imitated thing, and he used it to refer to, essentially, the cultural equivalent of a biological gene.
This is where mini-me comes from.
No, it is not.
I'm just kidding.
The idea is that there is nothing unique about biological genes as replicating bits of information. Evolution can occur anytime 3 conditions are met. 1, replication, the ability of the thing to make copies of itself. 2, variation and mutation, that is, the copies are not totally identical. And 3, differential fitness, meaning that the things differ in how well suited they are to their environment. If these conditions are met, mutations that increase fitness will outcompete mutations that decrease fitness. All of these conditions apply to things like technologies, melodies, fashions, ideas, really anything that can replicate from mind to mind. And that's the basic essence of meme theory.
But it came from the gene thing.
Yeah, so he's basically reasoning by analogy from biological evolution by natural selection.
But is meme still used about when
Yeah,
talking about genes?
No. So memes are the cultural equivalent of genes, is the idea.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dawkins takes this basic idea and makes an ambitious attempt to explain the evolution of things like cultures and religions, which are bundles of memes that he calls memeplexes. This account differs from most theories of the evolution of cultures, religions, and the like, in that it does not suppose that they serve some function for people. Unlike typical theories of culture, meme theory says that natural selection acts on ideas, not the people who hold them. So a meme can be beneficial, neutral, or even detrimental to the person whose mind it lives in, as long as it can survive and replicate.
This whole time I'm just thinking about how Know Your Meme should be called Memeplex.
It really should, yeah. That would be great.
I've just been thinking about that this whole time since you said it. I feel like I should start a band or something.
Memeplex?
It's
that
like
would be a
great
good.
name.
That's a great band name, yeah.
It's a great name for anything. I need something to call Memeplex. Anyway.
The scientific study of memes is called memetics. Unlike genetics, which is basically uncontroversial, memetics has attracted a fuck ton of criticism from other scholarly fields. Most of the criticisms boil down to this. Meme theory's pseudo-biological approach to understanding culture is too simplistic and reductionist, and it ignores real advances made by other fields like sociology, cultural anthropology, and psychology. As a social cognitive psychologist myself, this criticism does resonate with me, but I have seen some pretty good attempts to cognitivize meme theory, although it's not the original formulation. That's way beyond the scope of this discussion, though.
Yeah.
Another criticism of memetics...
Is it memetics or mimetics?
Memetics.
What is That's a thing.
Mimetics?
Yeah, like biomimetics.
I don't know.
That's
Isn't that like camouflage and stuff?
I think.
Something like that.
I must know.
Okay.
Biomimetic, relating to or denoting synthetic methods that mimic biochemical processes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. When I searched it, it said something about biomimetic dentistry, and I'm like, of course.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Another criticism of memetics is that it isn't falsifiable, which has been considered a critical feature of any scientific theory since Karl Popper. Genes are relatively easy to identify. They're basically stretches of DNA. But this criticism basically says, how the hell do you identify a meme, and what does it actually consist of?
It's like a picture with a certain font at the bottom. That's how I identify a meme.
But here's what I think is the most interesting objection to the theory. Memes mutate too much. We never perfectly replicate an idea. We embellish it, misremember it, combine it with other ideas. Evolution by natural selection works in biology because mutations are relatively infrequent, so beneficial mutations have a chance to propagate themselves. But with memes, there's nothing but mutation.
Right.
I'm not really sure where I come down on meme theory, but it's definitely an interesting idea, and it's definitely worth knowing a bit about.
So he's the one that created the meme theory?
Yes.
Has he done more work on it?
Yeah, a bit.
Oh. I wanted to know more about Richard Dawkins. I feel like I don't know anything about it. I feel like there are useful things to know.
He wrote The Blind Watchmaker and The God Delusion. He's one of the 4 horsemen of the New Atheism. And
that's a thing?
Yeah.
The 4 horsemen of the New Atheism.
Yeah.
Never
it's
heard of
him, Christopher Hitchens, Dan Dennett, and I can't think of the 4th one.
Fail.
Yeah, well. Look it up, you'll find it.
Okay.
Alright, ready? Question 2. Everything else. It's current events, basically.
Okay.
In 2009, France's then president falsely claimed...
Current.
I'm getting to current.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
And you know what? I would say that anything from the past 15 years qualifies as more current events than history anyway. But
okay, fine.
I'm getting to something very current anyway.
Okay,
later
sorry.
in the question.
Go ahead.
Stop interrupting.
Sorry.
In 2009, France's then president falsely claimed that he had been among the first people demolishing the Berlin Wall, sparking a flood of doctored photos inserting him into historical events ranging from the execution of Socrates to Apollo 11. Name this retired statesman who was indicted this year for accepting bribes from the Libyan government.
I don't know. What is he, French?
Yes. He was president of France in 2009, and he was indicted this year.
Is this the one that was dating Ashley Olsen or Mary-Kate Olsen?
I think so.
Oh, man. Is it sad that that's the only thing I remember
Yeah.
about him? Oh, I can't think of his name.
I'm not sure, but no, it's not, because he's
It's
married.
not.
It must not be him,
Oh,
because he's
okay.
married.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
You're right, I do just think without saying anything.
I have to cut it down, so the 20 minutes that we've spent in silence with you mulling this over is going to be cut down to about like 15 seconds.
20 minutes. Don't tell them that. Maybe 1 minute. Maybe 2 minutes. I'm trying to think of like a single French last name, and I'm struggling. All I can think of is Macron, which I know is wrong.
Yeah, no, it's not Macron.
I know that. I don't know. Fine. I don't know.
Okay. It's Nicolas Sarkozy.
Oh, damn it. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Is he the one who dated whoever it was?
I think he is.
He's been married 3 times.
Sarkozy.
No, it's Sarkozy. He's been married 3 times. I know that.
When I put his name in, it says Sarkozy Olsen.
Oh, okay. Guess
Mary-Kate Olsen and Olivier Sarkozy. They're married.
Oh, who's that? Like his brother or something?
Pierre Olivier Sarkozy is a French banker.
Okay.
Wait, they're not the same person. What's this person's name?
Nicolas Sarkozy.
Oh, I see. He must be related to him.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. So the meme is called Sarkozy Was There, and they're incredible. Like it's just him photoshopped into like every major event in history. It's so good. It's my favorite foreign meme. Anyway,
that's a weird thing to have.
Yeah, well. We try not to get political on this podcast because we know that there are trivia geeks with all sorts of political opinions, and we want to be a resource to anyone who wants to learn and get better at quiz games, regardless of their views.
I feel like there's a but coming.
That said,
we don't want a but.
Sarkozy is, by all accounts, one corrupt bastard. That will probably be the title of his unofficial biography one day. Nicolas Sarkozy, un bâtard corrompu.
Did you look that up?
I Google translated. Anyway, Nicky got his start as a local politician in the city of Neuilly-sur-Seine, where he was elected mayor in 1983 at just 28 years old. He was a protege of right-wing French politician Jacques Chirac and rose through the ranks of France's center-right party, the Union for a Popular Movement, eventually becoming the leader of the party in 2004. Note that I'm using the language of right-left rather than conservative-liberal, because those terms mean different things in Europe than they do here in the US. Anyway, he was
and some of our listeners are in Europe.
Yes, that's true. And South America, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was elected president in 2007, defeating the center-left Socialist Party's candidate, Ségolène Royal. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong.
Probably.
Ségolène Royal, I don't know.
You gotta learn some French.
Yeah, I'm not very good at French. Oddly, even though he succeeded his mentor and fellow right-winger Chirac to the presidency, he took the opportunity in his acceptance speech to shit on voters' previous decisions, saying, quote, "The French have chosen to break with the ideas, habits, and behavior of the past. I will restore the value of work, authority, merit, and respect for the nation," end quote. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, he seems like he's kind of a showman, like he likes to pontificate a lot. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to hit some of the highlights of Nick's presidency. I've tried to include the good and the bad here, especially because I'm going to talk about the corruption charges in a minute. One of the weirder moments early in his presidency was when he broke with a long-standing tradition of amnestying traffic tickets and releasing prisoners for minor offenses on Bastille Day, a custom that dated to Napoleon fucking Bonaparte.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was this long-standing tradition in France that the head of the government would basically forgive all traffic tickets and release people who were in jail for, like, minor offenses on Bastille Day to celebrate
That's cool.
You know, the liberation of the prisoners in the Bastille.
That's interesting.
And Sarkozy was just like, nah.
That's so mean. Maybe he just forgot, and then he was just covering his ass.
Sincerely doubt he forgot. Bastille Day is a big fucking deal in France. Like, you know it's coming.
Yeah.
Anyway, more substantively, he negotiated the release of several hostages held by the Colombian left-wing revolutionary group FARC and toughened France's environmental policies. He initially loosened a lot of economic restrictions and, for better or worse, overhauled France's tax laws to put a lot of money back in the pockets of wealthier citizens. Though when the global economy imploded in 2008, he walked back a bit and even declared that, quote, laissez-faire capitalism is over. In 2009, he posted the infamous Facebook photo that he claimed showed him as being among the first people to start chipping away at the Berlin Wall. Internet investigators quickly worked out that he actually had not arrived in Berlin until a week later, when the popular movement bringing down the wall was already in full swing.
Oy.
Nick ran for re-election in 2012, but lost to socialist François Hollande. He came out of retirement in 2014 and ran for president again in 2016, but lost in the primary. Okay, now to what a corrupt motherfucker this guy is.
Okay.
One of the first things Sarkozy did after being elected was give himself a raise, increasing the presidential salary from 101,000 euros to 240,000 euros. His argument was that he was basically just putting it on par with other Western European nations, but still, come on.
Yeah.
In 2009, he blatantly helped his son Jean kickstart his own political career. And then there's the Libya shit. In 2007, Sarkozy invited Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi to visit France over objections from both his allies and his opponents. In hindsight, that might be because Gaddafi allegedly paid 50 million euros to support Sarkozy's presidential campaign in exchange for access and favors.
It sounds slightly familiar.
What do you mean?
Nothing.
What? Oh.
Sounds like some other
Oh, it sounds like some
have...
other current events right now.
Yeah.
Sarkozy was arrested in March of this year and indicted on charges of bribery and accepting illegal campaign contributions. We'll see how it all plays out, but it seems like his legacy is pretty tarnished either way at this point.
Yep. Hi.
All right, question 3. Sports and games. There aren't a lot of memes about sports, but my favorite one is called simply, "The Warriors blew a 3-1 lead." What team did the Golden State Warriors blow a 3-1 lead to in the 2016 NBA Finals?
Shit.
And I know you don't know this, but I think you can probably puzzle out the best guess.
Well, I'm between two.
Okay.
I'm between the Cavs and the Heat because of LeBron. Wasn't he on one of those? Both of those? Shit. Which one was it? Oh, the struggle.
2016.
I don't know. Cavs.
Cleveland Cavaliers? Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Yes, good. So you did the right thing and guessed basically the other best team in basketball of the past 5 years.
Well, also I have a good friend from Cleveland, and I was like with her when this was happening, and LeBron and the whole whatever. Yeah. So it kind of was. At least I sort of knew what was going on, because basketball is probably the sport I paid the least attention to.
Yeah. So the past several sports and games discussions have been about like particular sports or games, right? So
yep, that's true.
Let me find this.
More Major League eating.
Yeah, right. So you did Monopoly, then I did the 100-meter dash. You did curling, I did sumo, and you did Major League eating.
Oh, you're right.
So I wanted to do something a little bit different and delve into this particular moment in basketball history.
Cool.
That we are living, or that we've just lived through. So yes, this somewhat mean-spirited meme actually crossed over from the internet to the real world. It appeared on a sign held up by an audience member during Fox News' coverage of the second presidential debate during the 2016 election season.
It did?
Yes, and there are apparently Etsy stores that sell wristbands that say the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead.
That's funny.
Just in case you need to be reminded of this every day.
Aw.
What's crazy, though, is that the past 4 NBA Finals series have all been contested between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That's obviously why I knew.
Yeah. So let's talk about this modern dynastic rivalry. 2015 was the first time that these two teams met in the finals. Star forward LeBron James had just returned to the Cavaliers after 4 years in Miami to lead them to the Eastern Conference Championship. Over in Oakland, point guard Steph Curry broke his own record for three-pointers in a season, winning the league MVP award and captaining the Warriors to the Western Conference Championship. The battle lines have been drawn.
I like him.
Two of the best players in basketball were set to go head-to-head in the finals. Notably, both of these teams entered the finals with first-year head coaches, David Blatt in Cleveland and Steve Kerr for the Warriors, which had not happened since the first ever NBA Finals.
That's funny. His name's Steve Kerr, and the star player's name is Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Very similar names.
Yeah, so I didn't even think of that. That's true.
Funny.
They also both entered with title droughts of 40 years or more. The Cavs had never won since they were organized in 1970, and the Warriors hadn't won since 1975. Needless to say, there was a lot at stake. The first two games went into overtime, another finals first, but the Warriors won the series in 6 games, becoming the first team with no prior finals experience on their roster to win since the Bulls did it in 91.
Wow.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah. The Cavaliers didn't have to wait long for their rematch. Oddly, they fired Blatt midway through the 2016 season, despite having the best record in the East, and promoted Tyronn Lue, making them the only team to go to 2 consecutive finals with 2 different rookie head coaches.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder why they fired him.
Yeah, it's not clear why. I guess they felt like they were underperforming based on how good their roster was, even though they were leading the Eastern Conference.
Oh.
Across the country, Curry again won MVP, and the Warriors finished the season with a record of 73-9, the best in NBA history.
Wow.
The Warriors won the first 2 games of the finals in Oakland, then lost Game 3, but won Game 4 in Cleveland. And then, as you may recall, they blew a 3-1 lead,
Ooh.
making them the only team ever to do so.
Wow.
Or, if you prefer, making the Cavaliers the only team ever to overcome a 3-1 deficit.
Cool.
2017 marked the first time that the same 2 teams had met in 3 consecutive NBA Finals. The Warriors wanted revenge, and they were willing to spend for it, acquiring free agent Kevin Durant in the offseason. The so-called super team combination of Durant, Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green stormed through the Western Conference playoffs without losing a single fucking game.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the Cavaliers kept being the Cavaliers, and LeBron kept being LeBron. This was his 7th consecutive finals appearance dating back to his run in Miami.
It's crazy.
But the Warriors were not fucking around. They dropped Game 3, but were otherwise perfect, winning the series in 5, and setting the NBA record for playoff win percentage at .941.
Wow, they are good.
Yeah, so they won every single playoff game that they were in that season, except for 1 game in the finals.
That's impressive.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
2018 marked yet another first. The first time that the same 2 teams faced off for the championship 4 consecutive times in any of the 4 major North American sports leagues.
Oh, so there had been in another league 3 years in a row of the same teams?
But
I wonder what it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It had never happened in the NBA prior to 2017, but I think I'm not sure.
Probably Yankees and somebody.
Yeah, I was thinking it was probably baseball, just because the history of baseball is so long. It could have happened, but I don't know.
Probably the Yankees and somebody.
Probably, yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, so 2018 was the first time in any of the 4 major North American sports leagues, so Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, and NHL, that the same 2 teams met for the 4th consecutive year for the championship.
That's cool.
Yeah. The Cavs shook up their roster that year, acquiring Dwayne Wade in the offseason and making a series of deals mere hours before the trade deadline mid-season, though they kept their superstar forward, of course.
Obviously.
The Warriors, on the other hand, stood pat, re-signing their major players. In the end, that strategy paid off. The Warriors crushed the Cavaliers 4-0.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they just keep getting better.
Yeah. One way or the other, though, something will be different in 2019, as LeBron has now moved to the Lakers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. So we will see. We'll see if it's... we'll see. It could be that LeBron makes it to the finals again, or it could be that the Cavs make it again, but it can't be both. Actually, I guess that's not true. He could play against the Cavs, I guess, in principle, because the Lakers are LA. So
I don't know anything about how basketball
So
works.
there's the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference.
Okay.
So I guess it's possible that both the Cavaliers and LeBron James could be in the finals again this year, but they would be on opposite teams.
Right.
That'd be interesting. All right, question 4, arts and literature. Classical art memes put humorous captions on art from the medieval and Renaissance periods as well as the classical period.
Love them.
There are tons of these, but one of my favorites puts the caption, "On Wednesdays we wear pink," over what masterpiece by Raphael, which depicts numerous Greek philosophers?
The School of Athens. Is that what it's called?
Is that your answer?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, it's
Oh,
the
thank
School of
God.
Athens.
I couldn't think of it. I had the school, and then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, of Athens.
Yeah.
On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
Yeah, it's so good.
I love those memes.
Yeah, well, because in the painting, Aristotle is shown wearing like a pink toga in the center of the painting, and so it's captioned, "On Wednesdays we wear pink."
That's great.
So good. The School of Athens is without a doubt my favorite painting. We've never had a discussion, I don't think, about just a single work of art, but this one warrants it. The school is a perfect example of the artistic techniques that became prominent during the Renaissance, especially the use of linear perspective to create the illusion of a three-dimensional space. If you look at the painting, the whole thing converges to a vanishing point in the middle, which appears to be farthest away, quote-unquote, from the viewer. Raphael didn't actually call the painting the School of Athens, though that has become the traditionally accepted name.
Huh.
He titled it Causarum Cognitio, Latin for Seek Knowledge of Causes. It's actually one of 4 frescoes that he painted in a particular room in the Apostolic Palace in the Vatican, called the Stanza della Signatura. This is one of the 4 so-called Raphael rooms that he decorated in the palace. The 4 frescoes in the Stanza della Signatura each represent a distinct discipline or branch of knowledge, with Seek Knowledge of Causes representing philosophy, Divine Inspiration, poetry, Knowledge of Things Divine, theology, and To Each What Is Due, law.
What about natural sciences?
That wasn't really a thing until
Wow.
a couple hundred years later, the scientific revolution, 1600s, 1700s.
Cool.
Obviously, the school represents philosophy by depicting various titans of ancient Greek thought, but what has arguably made it so famous, and what has kept art historians employed for centuries, is the fact that we aren't completely sure who all of the figures are. The central 2 figures at the vanishing point are universally agreed to be Plato and Aristotle. Plato is depicted as old, bearded, and, relevant to the question, dressed in pink for whatever reason.
I feel like I should have it in front of me, you know?
Yeah, sorry, it was Plato who's in pink, not Aristotle. I said it was Aristotle earlier.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry, it was Plato.
Okay.
Yeah, so relevant to the question, he's dressed in pink for some reason.
Nice.
While his student Aristotle is depicted in the prime of manhood. Plato holds a copy of his work Timaeus and gestures upward, while Aristotle holds his Nicomachean Ethics and gestures outward, towards the world around him. The gestures have been interpreted as reflecting their different philosophical views. Plato's theory of forms rejects the physical world and is concerned with higher existence. We talked a bit about that a few weeks ago when we discussed the allegory of the cave.
Mm-hmm.
While Aristotle takes an empiricist approach concerned with the here and now of this world. Beyond these 2 figures, we can pretty confidently identify Socrates, Pythagoras, Euclid, Ptolemy, Zoroaster, Raphael himself, Sodoma, and Diogenes of Sinope. Other identifications, including Zeno of Citium, Anaximander, and Epicurus, among others, are more speculative and still debated. The school is one of the most well-known paintings in the world, and has been reproduced numerous times. Appropriately, several of these reproductions are located at institutions of higher learning, including the University of Virginia, the University of North Carolina at Asheville, and Baylor University. There's also a reproduction in the Victoria and Albert Museum, and, perhaps most importantly, a print of the work hung on the wall of my dorm room when I was in college many, many years ago.
Wait, where is the original again?
The original? It's in the Vatican.
Oh, right. Okay.
In the Apostolic Palace.
Gotcha.
It's a fresco, so it's painted into the wall plaster.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
How do they preserve that, I wonder?
Yeah, I don't know. I know frescoes do break down over time, and they require, some maintenance and upkeep, but I don't know what all goes into it, really.
One day we'll go there, and then we'll find out.
Yeah, I would love to.
Me too.
All right. So, you have 3 out of 4 so far? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, question 5, sounds and screen. The mimetic and rather chilly phrase, "Bye, Felicia," originated in a movie starring what rapper and actor born O'Shea Jackson?
Ice Cube.
Is that your answer?
Yes.
Yeah, you picked the right one.
Yay! I was like, no, it's not Ice-T. He's the one from Law & Order SVU.
Yes, that's right.
Ice Cube from Are We There Yet fame.
Among many other things, yes. Yes. So, perhaps surprisingly, O'Shea Jackson did not grow up in Compton, but rather South Central Los Angeles, where he began writing music and rapping when he was in high school. He got his start as a member of the rap group CIA and as one half of Stereo Crew along with Dr. Dre. But he really broke out as a member of NWA, which also included Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, MC Ren, and DJ Yella. And yes, for anyone who doesn't know, NWA does stand for something, but as a white man who grew up in the suburbs, I'm not saying it. I will say almost anything on air, but that is one of a handful of words that I think is legitimately offensive.
What do the W and A stand for?
With attitude.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyway, Ice Cube and NWA had a falling out shortly after their trailblazing album Straight Outta Compton, which we have briefly mentioned before on this podcast.
Yep.
As well as, whoops, sorry, I skipped something. Yeah, they had a falling out shortly after Straight Outta Compton was released in 1988. What happened was this. Cube wrote about half the songs on Straight Outta Compton, as well as E's solo album Easy Does It, but according to his contract, he was not officially a member of NWA, so he only earned the money that they had paid him for his compositions, about $32,000. And when you consider the millions of dollars that Straight Outta Compton brought in, that's pretty fucked.
Yeah.
This is despite the fact that he was performing with the group full-time and appeared on the cover of Straight Outta Compton. He was as much a member of the group as anyone else, except according to his contract.
Why would he sign that contract?
I don't know.
That's bad.
Unsurprisingly, he left the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has since had a prolific career as a solo artist, and I unfortunately don't have time to get into all of the things he's done. Instead, I'm just going to give the rundown of his discography.
Wait, what was that movie that was in that pub trivia we did?
It wasn't a movie, it was a song.
It was a song that had a number in the middle of it.
What? Oh.
And you wrote, what did you write? For Today.
Oh, yeah. No, so, sorry, I know what you're thinking of. So it was Menace to Society.
Yes, Menace to Society.
That was not Ice Cube, I don't think.
Oh, I thought it was.
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Who
was the rapper in that?
I'm not sure. But sorry, I thought you were talking about that time when we had played pub trivia and there was an entire round about things that happened in "It Was a Good Day" by Ice Cube.
Oh,
which is a song.
That's another thing I was thinking of. What was that from?
What was what from?
Wait, what was the "It Was a Good Day" thing from?
It Was a Good Day is a song by Ice Cube, and it was like an 8-question pub trivia round about things that happened. Oh yeah,
maybe that's why I'm mixing them up.
Probably, yeah. So anyway, I'm going to just give the rundown of his discography and his biggest singles. So this is the stuff that, if and when it comes up in trivia, should make you immediately think, oh, Ice Cube.
But what about the movies?
I'm getting to that too.
Oh, okay.
First, the albums. His solo debut was America's Most Wanted, spelled A-M-E-R-I, capital K-K-K-A.
Okay.
America's Most Wanted. Followed by Death Certificate, The Predator, Lethal Injection, War and Peace Volume 1, the War Disc, and Volume 2, the Peace Disc, then Laugh Now, Cry Later, Raw Footage, and most recently, 2010's I Am the West. His next album, Everything's Corrupt, has been in the works since 2012, but has been delayed several times and currently has no announced release date.
What's corrupt?
Everything. His best-known singles are arguably No Vaseline, a savage diss track attacking NWA, It Was a Good Day, an uncharacteristically optimistic song inspired by, in his own words, being in a state of euphoria when he was at the top of the rap game, and Gangsta Rap Made Me Do It, a controversial commentary on the use of rap as a scapegoat for society's ills. Interestingly, he has stated that It Was a Good Day is his favorite track to perform.
Cool.
So that's cool.
I never actually heard it.
It's good. I mentioned that Everything's Corrupt has been pushed back several times. Well, part of the reason for that is that Ice Cube is one hell of a busy guy. In addition to his musical career, he's a prominent actor, appearing in the crime drama Boys in the Hood, and starring in, among other things, Three Kings, the Barbershop series, Are We There Yet?, Triple X State of the Union, the terrible sequel to the okay first Triple X movie, the Ride-Along films,
Oh, yeah.
and of course the Friday trilogy, which gifted the world the phrase, "Bye, Felicia."
Oh, that's what it's from. That's why you said for today.
Yes, so the Friday movies are Friday, Next Friday, and Friday After Next.
Oh, okay.
I knew that the second one was not called FR Roman numeral 2 DAY, but I couldn't think of anything. I was hoping that it would be a funny wrong answer that would get read out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But it was Menace to Society.
Yeah. Anyway, he also served as a producer on the NWA biopic Straight Outta Compton.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that he got involved with.
Yes.
Even though he was mad at them.
Yeah. I mean, it was 30 years ago at that point, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 20, I guess. 20 years ago. So I'll wrap up with just a bit about his family life. Ice Cube and his wife Kimberly Woodruff have been married since 1992 and have 4 children, O'Shea Jr., Daryl, Karima, and Sharif. That is unlikely to come up in trivia, but I guarantee that this will at some point. O'Shea Jr. portrayed his father in Straight Outta Compton.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I want to see that. I haven't seen it.
That's the kind of fact that is destined to be a staple of pop culture trivia for decades.
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you say so. I mean, I think it's a good trivia fact just knowing his real name. I did not know that.
O'Shea Jackson, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you can get pretty far in a lot of trivia just by knowing rappers' birth names. Like, that comes up a lot.
Yeah. Like, recently on Jeopardy, there was a question about Sean Combs, and I was like, I think you should just say Sean Combs, because we don't even realize...
Because he changes his name every other day.
Up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what it is right now, but everyone knows Sean Combs.
I think he's Puffy right now, but I'm not sure.
That's what happens when you change your name so often.
Yeah.
Everyone knows your real name.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
All right. Are you 4 for 5 right now?
I am.
Fuck. All right.
Go me.
All right. Question 6, times and places. The title held by the leaders of Venice from the 8th to the 18th centuries is a heteronym of what Wired called the best meme of 2013. What is this title?
Ooh, question. Much hard. Wow. Not sure. It's Doge.
Doge. But yes. The meme
well, one
is Doge.
the meme is Doge.
I asked for the title.
The
but
title
yes.
is Doge.
Doge, yes. Yes.
Ooh, that's why you were so upset that I was 4. I knew you were upset because I was like, oh, the last one's going to be easy.
I knew you were going to get this one, yeah. Well,
womp womp. You did have a game where you got 5 out of 6.
Yes.
So there you go. I'm keeping up.
Yeah. The term Doge derives from the Latin dux, meaning leader, the same root as the Italian duce and the English duke, which we talked about last week.
Yeah.
The term is most associated with the elected lords of Venice, but was also used for the rulers of several other Italian city-states, collectively called crowned republics during the medieval and Renaissance periods, most notably Genoa. So I'm going to talk a bit about the history of these two rival powers and how the Doges figured it. The Most Serene Republic of Venice is traditionally said to have been founded as an independent state separate from the Byzantine Empire in 697, with the proclamation of Paolo Lucio Anafesto as the first Doge. However, there is no evidence for the historicity. I hate that word.
What was that?
However, there is no evidence for the historicity of this tradition.
What's historicity?
Like historical accuracy.
Oh, I never heard that word.
Yeah. And Anafesto is not actually mentioned prior to the 11th century. Regardless, Venice really rose to prominence during the High Middle Ages when it controlled trade between Europe and the Middle East. In particular, Venetian merchants ruled the salt trade, bringing wealth and power to the city. Being a maritime trading power, Venice also needed a strong navy to protect its interests, and during that period of time, it was the preeminent naval power in Europe, to the point that other powers often paid for the use of Venetian naval ships in their own military endeavors. This meant, of course, that Venice was heavily involved in the Crusades, and it is particularly associated with the spectacular fuck-up that was the Fourth Crusade. There's no time to get into detail, but basically, Doge Enrico Dandolo said that he would transport the crusading knights to the Holy Land if they would make a quick stop along the Dalmatian coast, now Croatia, to retake the rebellious city of Zara for him. Then they somehow got sidetracked to Constantinople, the most important Christian city in the world at the time, which they sacked and burned before going home. They never made it to the Holy Land, and Venice still possesses the 4 bronze horses that were looted from Constantinople and placed in front of St. Mark's Basilica.
Wow.
Venice remained one of the great powers in Europe until the 1500s, when global trade started to shift from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic. But it survived until 1797, when Napoleon Bonaparte forced the surrender and abdication of the last Doge, Ludovico Manin. Venice's territory was divided between Austria, the Cisalpine Republic, which was a client state of France, and direct French rule of the Ionian Islands in Greece. Venice's biggest rival was Genoa, and the story of Genoa is somewhat similar to that of Venice. It was established in 1005, nominally as part of the Holy Roman Empire, but effectively self-governing, as the real power in the city was held by elected consuls. Like Venice, Genoa played a large role in the Crusades, and Genoa took advantage of Venice's colossal fuck-up in the Fourth Crusade by strengthening their alliance with the Byzantine Empire, who were understandably very pissed at Venice.
Right.
The city was devastated by the Black Plague in 1347, and adopted the Venetian system of government, including the office of Doge, to stabilize the city-state after a massive economic and population collapse. Wars between the two republics continued, and Venice ultimately got the upper hand for good after a decisive victory in the War of Chioggia, which lasted from 1378 to 1381. Genoa launched the so-called Barbary Crusade against pirates in North Africa in 1390, but never really regained its power until 1528, when it became a semi-independent part of the Spanish Empire. Political stability brought trade and wealth, and Genoa was particularly involved in the slave trade. Like Venice, Genoa was wiped away in 1797 by Napoleon, who replaced it with a new state called the Ligurian Republic. 8 years later, he dropped the pretense and just annexed it outright.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So that is the tale of Venice and Genoa.
It makes me want to play Assassin's Creed 2 again.
Such a good game.
Don't you kill the Doge? I feel like you do.
I don't remember that part. Maybe.
Isn't that the main guy that you kill?
Well, the big bad in that game is the Pope, Rodrigo Borgia.
Oh, right.
Pope Alexander
I feel like you
VI.
kill some Doge.
You might. I don't remember that.
I like that game.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's my favorite way of learning history.
It's playing Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
Well, there are a ton of them set during different historical eras. So.
I'm getting there as soon as I finish Super Mario Odyssey.
Odyssey?
I don't know.
Super Mario Oddity?
Yeah.
Alright, so that'll do it for this week. So you are now... What's the score?
Winning. Whoop, whoop.
You're up 18-14. Oh, shit. Oh, boy.
Killing it.
All
if
right.
I make a good, even game for next week, I'm going to win.
Yeah, that's true. If you hit your mark of 3 correct answers.
I will be as fair as I possibly can.
Also, speaking of Assassin's Creed, actually, this week is the third of 3 episodes that we did on our buddy Rory M. Spence's podcast, Dog Hair Presents, and that'll come out on Tuesday of this week. This week, I did a report on the Assassin's Creed series of video games, so if that's something that you're interested in, definitely check that out, and we're going to actually have Rory on for an episode of Quiz and Hers in the off-season after Hallie finishes beating me this season. We're going to have a crossover with him, so just keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can follow us on social media. We are at Quiz and Hers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or quizandhers@gmail.com. We're on all major podcast platforms that we are aware of. If there's one that we are not aware of, let us know, but I think we've pretty much got them covered.
Yep.
Until next week, we will say goodbye.
Bye. Okay. Every time.
Every time.
Can't help yourself.
Podcasting makes me gassy.